we used to think that the harder Camino, the deeper the transformation. So we were choosing the toughest routes, thinking that struggle was the only way to grow. Then we walked the Camino Portuguese. It wasn't dramatic, it didn't shout, but it stayed with us long after we got home. And it turns out we're not the only one. In 2014, just over 35,000 pilgrims chose this path. In 2024, more than 1,700 walked it. So what's drawing people to this route in such numbers? Maybe it's the balance of physical ease and emotional depth. Maybe it's the landscapes, quiet rivers, ocean breeze and the ancient towns. Or maybe it's the kind of space this Camino gives to actually hear yourself again. In this guide, we will walk you through the main variants of Camino Portuguese, the best time to go, what to expect day by day and how to avoid the most common mistakes, all of a reflection from our own recent journey. I'm Ricky from Caminotellers and this is the Camino Portuguese guide. Chapter 1. The routes. Which Camino Portuguese is right for you? When someone says they are walking the Camino Portuguese, suddenly 1,000 questions pop up. We got different starting points, we got different trails, we got different vibes. So let's decode it together. You can technically start anywhere, but the most pilgrims begin in one of those three places. Lisbon, around 630 kilometers and 30 days of walking. In Porto, 250 kilometers in 12-13 days, or Tui, just over 100 kilometers, so you will still get your Compostela if that's your goal. It will take you 5 or 6 days. So far, pretty straightforward, right? Now it's getting a bit more interesting. From Porto, the Camino splits into 3 routes, or better say 2 main and one that sneaks around the edges. We know the central route, the classic one. It takes you through the heart of Portugal, quiet villages, rural paths, eucalyptus forest. It's the most traditional with more albergues, lower costs and a real pilgrim spirit. Then we have the coastal route. This one hacks the seaside. You walk through fishing towns, feel the breeze and hear the waves. It's beautiful, but a bit less developed. Some villages don't have albergues, so you may rely on guest houses or hotels. And the Senda Litoral, the littoral way, this one is for the ocean lovers. It shares part with the coastal route, but sometimes stays even closer to water, broad walks, wild beaches and salty air. Fewer signs, fewer services, but magic is in the simplicity. But during high season, this seaside path can get busy with holidaymakers and accommodation can be pricey. And one more thing, the weather plays a big role too, but we're gonna talk about it in the next chapter. So which one is calling you? The sea breeze, the village path, the ancient stone beneath your feet? Your Camino starts with a choice, and that choice already says something about what kind of pilgrim you are. So, when is the best time to walk the Camino Portuguese? Well, it depends, not just on weather, but on you. Because nature reflects your pace. Some Caminos are for blooming, some are for shedding, and some are just for stillness. Let's go through the months, real talk style. March to April, spring is waking up, green is everywhere. Wild flowers pop. The rain can still surprise you, and it will, especially in the Galicia. But the air smells like a new beginning. You're looking for introspection, space, renewal, this is your window. It's also a perfect time to start from warmer Lisbon before the summer heat kicks in. May to June, that's the sweet spot. The days are longer, the sun is kinder, and evenings in full bloom. Still not a peak season, but you will meet more pilgrims. It feels alive, without the overwhelm. July to August, this is a peak summer. It's hot, it's really hot, especially in the inland section of Portugal. And the coastal routes filled with holiday makers, you still find magic, but you will need to wake up early and book ahead. If your Camino is about endurance and heat, you'll find it here. September. I think it's our favorite time. The crowds thin, the weather softens, harvest season starts, vineyards are glowing. It feels like the Camino is exhaling. You got enough pilgrims around to fill the community, but not so much that you're in the rush. Rain is on the horizon, so be careful. And the October, and it's still beautiful and quiet again. Leaves change colors, the morning are crisp, and the rhythm is slow. Some albergues start to close, especially on the coast, but the stillness is unmatched. Perfect if your Camino is about letting go. November to February. It's possible, but it's wet, it's cold, and many places are shut. This is a deep winter Camino, not for everyone, but transformative in its own way. So, when should you walk? Ask yourself, do I want the stillness or connection? Do I need challenge or softness? Do I bloom in the sun or in the rain? Because the Camino will meet you exactly where you are, and sometimes the right season isn't just about the calendar. So what does a day on the Camino Portuguese actually feel like? It's not just about walking. It's about the rhythm you fall into, the simplicity and the little surprise along the way. You'll probably start early like the most pilgrims do. There's something special about walking in the soft light in the morning, when the world is still quiet and you feel like the path belongs just to you. And then the coffee, the first thing of the day. And let me tell you, the Portuguese coffee isn't shy. It's strong, sharp, and the kind of coffee that would wake up even a dead horse. And somehow it becomes the part of your routine. It's like a little ceremony before your kilometers begin. As you walk, the scenery shifts. One moment you're in the forest, the next on the cobblestone street or crossing a medieval bridge. You hear birds, you smell eucalyptus, you hear your thoughts, and sometimes, only sometimes, the silence. You pass cafes, small villages, roadside shrines. You will learn quickly that the Portugal siesta time is real, especially in the smaller towns. Shops closed, restaurants pause. So if you see an open cafe, eat, drink and rest, because waiting for the dinner at 5 p.m, that's not a thing here. Lunch is hearty. Think of francesinha sandwich, bean stew, or the giant plate with the grilled meat. Afternoons are slower. Feet start to ache, the sun gets stronger, but you get into the groove, like the body knows what to do, even if your mind is wandering. Eventually, you arrive at the albergue, at the guest house, a small hotel. You take off your shoes, you sign, you might make a shower or two, and then comes the best part. It's not the bed, it's not the beer, but the people. You sit, you talk, you listen. Sometimes you laugh with strangers, and sometimes you say nothing at all and still feel that special connection. And that right here, that's the Camino rhythm. You wake up, you walk, you eat, you feel, you connect, you rest. And you know what? And then you do it over and over again. And not because it's easy, but because somehow it feels right. And by the way, if you find this guide helpful or if it stirs something inside of you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps us to provide these free educational videos to you and to any other people about Camino de Santiago and any other pilgrimages. And because this June and July we're gonna be walking Camino Portuguese again from Lisbon, we'll be diving deeper into details we didn't cover here. More stories, more tips, more moments from the path. Simply subscribe for more. And the chapter 4 were practical tips that will save you. So let's talk about the little things, the simple practical tips that made a big difference for us and that might just save you some stress along the way. First, always carry some cash. Portugal is modern, yes, but not everywhere. In the smaller villages, cafes, bakeries and some albergues, they might only take cash. So don't rely entirely on your cards. The second is the sun. Even if it's cloudy in the morning, it can get strong fast, especially in the inland central route. We learned it the sweaty way. Bring a hat, bring a sunscreen, and don't forget sunglasses. Your future self will thank you. And the third, sleep. If you're planning to stay in the municipal albergues, which by the way are even cheaper than the ones on the French way, you will need to bring a sleeping bag or at least a liner. They're not too fancy, but after 25 kilometers, who cares? And about the food, mealtime don't always match up with your hunger, so carry a snack, a banana, some nuts, and maybe even a sneaky pastel de nata just to put it in your pocket. So remember, collect stamps like you in your pilgrim's passports everywhere, not just in albergues, asking cafes, restaurants, churches. It becomes like a joyful little ritual. And you will need at least two to get your Compostela once you reach to Santiago. And finally, don't be shy. People in Portugal are kind and many speak English surprisingly well. Ask for help, say hello. The Camino becomes richer when you open up, really. And these are the small things, but like in any pilgrimage, the small things become sacred. Chapter 5, mistakes we made so you don't have to. Let's be honest, you can prepare as well as you want, but the Camino will surprise you. And yes, we made mistakes, plenty of them. But maybe if we share ours, you won't have to make those same ones again. Mistake number 1, overpacking. That's the classic. We thought we needed extra clothes, backpack toiletries, just in case gear. We didn't. We needed less. The less weight, the less clutter, the less stuff to worry about. And as a quick tip, lay everything out, then take half of it out, and then maybe a bit more. Mistake number 2, assuming food is always available. Here's the deal. Portugal and Galicia don't always work according to your schedule. Sundays, things are closed. Afternoons, the kitchens are shut down. We learned that the hard way, hiking through villages dreaming of lunch and finding nothing but locked doors. Solution, always carry a small stash, nuts, fruits, or that magical, typical Portuguese food that you have from the breakfast. And the mistake number 3, ignoring the heat, especially inland. You think you're okay until you're not. Once you walk the stage without even the water, you won't do it again. And remember, start early, wear a hat, don't underestimate the sun. Mistake number 4, walking too fast at the beginning. We were excited, we wanted to make progress, but the Camino isn't the race. We missed moments, we skipped breaks, we walked past the beauty, chasing some imaginary schedule. Now we say stop for the view, sit for the coffee, and let the path lead, not your watch. You will still make your own mistakes. And that's okay, because sometimes that's where the best stories come from. And hey, if something in you is whispering, maybe it's my turn. If the Camino Portuguese is calling your name, or you feel that pull towards one of our next soulful journeys, like walking this very path with us on the guided retreat, or joining us somewhere more off the beaten track like Japan's Kumano Kodo, we would love to have you with us. We just opened the waiting list for our 2026 Pilgrimages events. You can add your name to the link in the description just below, and we will keep you in the loop with upcoming dates, open spots, and all the ways that you can join. Because this is more than just walking. It's about remembering who you are and doing it alongside of people who get it. So let's walk it together. History and legacy, why this Camino matters. Before we keep going, let's take a small detour, because you can really walk your Camino without knowing what or who it's all about. And it starts with the legends. They say that after the death of St. James, one of the Jesus' 12 apostles, obviously, his disciple placed his body in the stone boat and set it adrift across the Mediterranean all the way to Iberian Peninsula. Where did they land? Some say Galicia, some say Portugal. In fact, the small village called Padron, not far from Santiago, there is a stone said to have anchored the very boats. This Camino, the Camino Portuguese, has a deep spiritual roots. But for centuries it was quite less walked. The more famous routes in Spain, like Francés, the Primitivo, took the spotlight. But now something's changing. In 2014, just over 35,000 pilgrims walked the Portuguese. In 2024, over 170,000. That's not a trend, that's a return. It's not just St. James' story anymore, it's yours. Yours to walk, yours to shape, yours to pass on. And the Camino infrastructure, the sleeping, eating and navigation. Let's start with accommodations. You got options, and how you sleep really depends on your budget and the comfort level and how tired you are on the end of the day. First, there are municipal albergues, usually the cheapest option, even cheaper than on the French way actually. They're basic, sometimes very basic, but they do the job. A bed, a shower, a roof. You will need a sleeping bag or a liner because most don't provide bedding. But hey, after 20 kilometers, luxury, it's a mattress. Then there are private albergues, a step up, usually smaller, cleaner, and with a bit more personality. Still affordable and sometimes with communal dinners or a little nice extra like a laundry or breakfast. And if you're feeling fancy or you just really need a good night's sleep, you can stay in the guest house or hotel. They are more common along the coastal route, especially near the beaches town, but you will definitely feel the price difference. Now let's talk the navigation. Luckily, the Camino Portuguese is very well marked. You will be following the classic yellow arrows, shells and the signposts almost the whole way. Most of the time you are simply walking north, easy, right? But there is an important part. You might also see the blue arrows pointing in the opposite direction. That's not a mistake. Those are for the Fatima pilgrimage, heading south towards the sanctuary of Our Lady of Fatima. So always follow the yellow arrows. So maybe a real question isn't which Camino should I walk, but rather what am I walking towards? Or maybe what am I ready to leave behind? The Camino Portuguese won't shout, it won't demand, but it will offer space, softness and stories waiting to unfold. And it's always there, whenever you're ready. If you walk the Camino Portuguese, let us know what surprised you, what stayed with you, and how did it change the way you see things. And if you haven't walked yet, well, see you out there. Buen camino.